All right, if it's Tuesday, it can mean only one thing, and it is time for Comic Book School Live. My name is Buddy Scalera. I'm your host, and I am joined by my good buddy, friend, and co-conspirator, Mike Fasolo. Mike, we're doing something a little bit different tonight, but for people who are joining the show for the first time, this is Mike Fasolo. He is a multi-award-winning screenwriter, best known for Robot Chicken. But also for Wizard Magazine, many awards. And I am award-winning comic book writer and the creator of Comic Book School. But that's really all you need to know about us, because tonight, Mike, we have a very special episode. Let's once again mess that up.
I don't know what you're doing, bud.
I don't know what I'm doing either. Mike, we're going to be doing our very first comic book creator artist spotlight. And tonight we'll be spotlighting one of my favorite artists of all time, Barry Windsor-Smith. Mike, you did some research on Barry Windsor-Smith to get started on this.
Good day, Andrew.
We're honorary, Mike.
We are honorary Aussies. That's nice. Oh, we got an evening gentleman from Victor. How you doing, Victor?
Victor, Aussies. Victor, Aussie. Thanks. Nice to see you. You both back. Thank you, Mike. So you did a little bit of research on Barry Windsor-Smith. Are you excited for tonight's episode to see what we produced?
Yes. I'm excited to see the slides that you chose. I don't know if they'll match the things that I picked out of his long resume.
Yes.
But yeah, I did a few little things. I got some bullet points here, right there.
Right there. All right. So Michael, let's get started. I'm going to skip past the stuff because this is how the slide deck is made. I'm going to acknowledge that I am part of a community called Barry Windsor-Smith Appreciation Group.
You should be called the Barry Windsor-Smiths.
Yes, but what's kind of neat about this, if you look right here, that's actually Barry Windsor-Smith. Every once in a while, he will pop in to his appreciation group and share a bit of insight and information, hence making the 10,500 of us very, very happy.
Nice. Has he ever addressed anything to you specifically?
He has. I have a long history with Barry Windsor-Smith, and I will talk about that in a moment. I would also be remiss if I did not mention that many of the images and behind-the-scenes artwork that I will share tonight is also available on Barry's official website, barrywindsor-smith.com. It is chock full of wonderful stuff.
Uh-oh. Oh boy. Looks like Buddy froze. Well.
And did you lose me there for a second?
I did. Yeah, you're still frozen on my screen.
Am I moving now?
Oh, now you're moving. Yes.
Now I'm moving. I am having all kinds of problems today with this. I bought a PC. Specifically,
there's your problem, right?
There's my problem. So I did get a lot of materials from there, but Mike, I will note this photo is on the left is from his official website. And then I will note that I took this photograph of Barry Windsor-Smith in his studio some years ago. I will tell you about that in a moment. But first, Mike, tee it up. Who is Barry Windsor-Smith?
Well, he is an extremely, and I say extremely, and I mean it, famous artist. He's done comics for a gazillion years since he was 20, I think, since he started way back at Marvel. And I have a little bit of a very background on Barry Windsor-Smith. He was born just Barry Smith.
Oh,
yes. And there's a rumor that he added the Windsor sometime in the early 70s after a mishap with the Windsor knot. He was trying to tie a tie, and he's like, "Oh, I'll just add Windsor to my name." Now that is only a rumor. The other rumor is that he just added it because it was his mother's maiden name, but I like the tie one better.
And I always thought it had to do with his mother's maiden name. I did not know. I'm looking for the link there. I did not know that little bit of trivia. Okay, so Barry broke in the 1970s. Came over from where? Sunny England, right?
From Sunny England, and Stan Lee was the person that gave him his first job in comics.
He and we will touch on this. Barry had a style. They could see potential. We'll show his early work, but it was during the Conan run that made him famous,
Yes.
where his art exploded, and we'll get a little bit into that. But Mike, first, I will tell you, I did meet Barry on numerous occasions. I wrote for Comics Values Monthly before I wrote for Wizard, and Barry invited me up to his studio in Kingston, New York. I will note that his artwork was everywhere. Piece of artwork like the one that's in the background right here. It's probably a $20,000 piece of art that he was literally drawing on the walls right here, just drawing on the walls. And I did say to him, "What are you going to do with this artwork?" And his assistant was like, "I guess we're just going to have to take the wallboard."
Yeah.
Because that's probably, 20,000 or more now worth of artwork. What was that? What's Gatilla doing? Did he do the phone ring, or did your phone ring?
No, that was me. I actually got a call my mechanic because
maybe your agent was telling you that you don't have to do this show anymore. It's like your deal went through.
Yes, you're gonna have to vamp for just 1 second.
Yeah. So I indeed wrote for Comics Values Monthly. I was writing for Fan Press. This was at a time when we did Fan Press and we got paid, I don't know, like a penny a word, which is actually more than I get paid for doing this YouTube show here with you, Mike. We actually, it costs us money to do this show. So we appreciate all the money that people have been sending in to us.
Yes.
All the cash that's
all the money.
In. But I did get to meet Barry. He was and continues to be a fascinating individual, a thoughtful artist, a creator's creator. So I thought, let's dive deep into, by the way, I think this article helped me get my job at Wizard, where I did indeed meet you.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yes. I was, I don't know when I did this, sometime in the 90s, but it's a pretty good photo, right? I did some nice photos of Barry.
Good job.
Pretty cool. Yeah, those weren't bad. Okay, so early days, Mike. This again came directly from Barry's website, the one on the right. Very inspired by Jack Kirby. You can see the Jack Kirby influence, right?
Yes, and that's actually what Stan Lee liked about it. It was very Kirby-esque.
It was very Kirby-esque. He could do the Kirby thing, and throughout his career, like many creators, like John Byrne and others, has paid homage to the King, Jack Kirby, by reimagining their characters and doing more modern stories. Now, this was an early version. I think this one was also fairly early. This puts it 1972. So, this in 1967, you can see simpler line work. And then by 72, you can see the line work and the detail and even the lettering and the design work maturing. And yeah, right. You could start to see it, right? But you're still dealing with early Barry Windsor-Smith, where his work is just part of the Marvel production line. He gets the colorist that he gets. He does the work that he's assigned. He's not calling the shots.
No.
So feel free at any point when you have a factoid that you want to drop in there, because I know you did look up Wikipedia.
I did, and I have I looked up a couple of places, at least two.
Okay,
and
so
I do have
tell
a factoid
me when there's something that Mike has to say.
Yes, there is apparently a comics historian known as Les Daniels.
That's right.
And he said, this is a quote from him: initial efforts of Barry Windsor-Smith were slightly sketchy. See, sketchy. But then he said his technique progressed by leaps and bounds, and within a few months, he had achieved a style never seen in comics before.
I like, and Les Daniels is quite the comics historian. We should try to get Les Daniels on the show. Do we have comments coming in? Do people like what we're doing, Mike?
We have a couple of comments. Magical power of reps. I don't know what that's from.
I think it's referencing my strong muscles.
Obviously.
my reps.
Maybe he's talking about Giant Man for the reps.
Maybe. Okay. So legend has it that John Buscema was not the right artist, perhaps too expensive for Conan, but Barry Windsor-Smith would indeed take on the Conan assignment of drawing it. Roy Thomas was writing it. Now, the key thing about Conan, the earliest versions were inspired by the work of Frank Frazetta, who drew Conan as much bulkier, but the way Windsor-Smith drew him, he was leaner, he was more of a thief, he was a lot more athletic. But still here, you see a lot of the Kirby influence in this cover on the left by issue 19. You can see him moving into his own design sense. So let's do the magnification thing. So you can see the sword with the the extreme poses, lots going on. You can even see like the bubble, the static that Kirby often put in, that cosmic look. You can see like the Kirby style hands. But by the time he's starting to move into his own, he's adding lettering into the work. He's having more influence over the color design. You don't see this perfectly clear shot of Conan's face the way you see it in issue 1. In fact, his face is kind of facing down, but you know exactly who it is. But the way he controls the image on the page, in part with neutral space over here, the negative neutral space.
You're gonna have to vamp a second.
The negative neutral space, and then over here you can see where we're using the colors and the letter, and of course Barry's emerging famous signature. You see Barry Smith here, but over here it's a little bit different, a little simpler over here, but by the time he's moving into here, into issue 19, things are getting a lot more interesting. You ready to continue on, Mike?
I am ready to continue on.
All right.
Now, I know that Conan is like one of your favorite titles.
One of my all-time favorite characters.
I don't think I've ever read a Conan the Barbarian comic.
Expect something in the mail, Mike. I absolutely love the run and early Conan the Barbarian, largely influenced by Roy Thomas's writing. But later, you start to see the stories being a lot more influenced by Barry Windsor-Smith, and the storytelling is amazing. I'm going to give you a couple examples.
Well, he did I'm going to throw in a little tidbit for you here.
A tidbit me.
He did the first. He had mostly contributions to the first 21 of the 24 original series run, and he did the covers, the art, and had story. He took part in the storytelling as well. So he had the full run.
It was a rare time where they saw this talented creator, and he wanted story credit because he was contributing to the story. This was the last official issue of the run, and the introduction of Red Sonja. What you'll notice is Red Sonja is not the Red Sonja that we know today with the metal bikini.
That's the good one.
I would argue that this Red Sonja is a lot more interesting and a lot more believable, wearing what's called a male shirt, which is metal links, a female male shirt, a terrific fighter in and of herself, a wonderful cover full of action. I mean, when I saw this as a kid, I had to have it. I will tell you a funny story. I found this in the garbage when I was a kid, this issue and some of the other issues, including this one, not number 1, Practical Armor. That's right, Gatilla. I found this in the garbage. I was riding my bike. More like 80s Danzig than 90s. That's right. I found this in the garbage, Mike. And there were...
Who's garbage?
I was riding my bicycle home. I couldn't have been more than 12 years old. And I saw, and I was like, that looks like garbage I want to look in. I looked. On the top were comic books. On the bottom were Playboy magazines. I left the Playboy magazines and I took the Conan issues with me.
Wow.
Now, just to tell you how different it was at that time, Mike, in the 80s, my father sent me back and said, why don't you go back and see if they have any additional comic books to sell? So I knocked on a stranger's door by myself with a wad of money and asked him if I could buy more comic books, and he sold me additional issues of Conan. Can you imagine a parent doing that today?
Oh yeah, not today.
Right?
Did you negotiate with him?
I did. He goes, where is he? I'm like, oh, it's a couple blocks away. And he was like, all right, well, go back there with some money and see if you could buy some more. Can you imagine sending a 10 to 12-year-old by themselves with money to a stranger's house because he had garbage outside the house?
Yep. Apparently garbage in Australia is garbage. Garbage.
Well, back in the 80s, I really left the Playboys. I was a kid. What was I? I couldn't bring them home. But when we were kids, Mike, we didn't recycle.
No.
We just threw everything in the garbage.
Yeah.
It was recycled when the truck picked it up. Now, this is one of my favorite covers, but this is one of the covers that made me notice who is this creator. This cover here. Now, I was something about this cover. It is a loyal telling of the Frost Giant's daughter, which they renamed to the Night of the Frost Giant. So I decided to do a little bit of a breakdown for us, Mike. Any other artist? What's Catilla saying?
Yes. It was an American tradition to leave skin mags in the garbage or in a box in the middle of the woods. Yes, that's
actually
true.
That's true. That's true. Let's give a
then the internet happened.
All right, Mike. So taking a look at this cover, one of the things that you would notice is that this is a flat plane right here. What you see where I'm drawing with my mouse.
Yes.
Could have drawn this as a flat plane. It would have been a lot easier for him as an artist. Instead, he draws it on a slope, increasing the complexity of the art dramatically. Because instead of drawing a flat plane where everybody would be fighting standing straight up, he draws the eye on the slope here. So we'll go back without the arrows. Then with the arrows, here's our educational moment for comic book school. This character's leg is straight up, directly in line with the eye, but then the other leg is for balancing, similar to Conan, where the right leg is straight up, balanced with the shoulders, where this leg is propped for support. And then this character, who is clearly dying, you can see the leg is falling and the body is pitching forward. Andrew Campbell, read out Andrew's quote.
Looks dynamic.
Certainly does look dynamic. And that was one of the things that I think a lot of people, including myself, were noticing about the work of Barry Windsor-Smith early on in the Conan run, because he could have drawn the easier version. Now, when you see the arrows, Mike, do you see the complexity of the drawing as opposed to just standing straight?
I do. The one thing that's a little strange on this cover is that girl looks very, very small, like compared to everybody else, even Conan. She looks tiny.
Well, she is an apparition, Mike.
Oh, okay.
That is part of the story.
Okay.
Yeah. You'll notice that she's in the snow and does not appear cold.
Well, she's got a little wrap on her. She
does have a little wrap, but if you've ever read The Frost Giant's Daughter, and I recommend that you do read the original, there is a reason for that. Now, the magnum opus of Conan the Barbarian for Barry Windsor-Smith was a story called Red Nails, which is also considered to be probably the best Robert E. Howard Conan story, Red Nails. And this was heavily influenced and very accurate. And this was Barry's farewell letter to Conan. It was brilliantly drawn. The design was unbelievable. The lettering work, the coloring work was all Barry, and he did indeed. In this, you don't really actually see the name credit, but he is considered really the author of this story.
Nice. And how many, was it just one issue or a whole saga?
It is a saga. It's like a miniature graphic novel based on the original story, Red Nails. Now, Mike, have you done any Robert E. Howard original reading of Conan the Barbarian?
I have not. No.
I would, if there's one that you read, Red Nails, and I would recommend also The Frost Giant's Daughter.
Okay.
excellent books. Okay.
Those are ones that I can put on my list.
Yes, these are perhaps the greatest stories that Barry Windsor-Smith had touched with Conan, but after he left Conan, his fans would not let him fully leave Conan. So he would return from time to time to do either pinup art or short stories or whatnot. And the work that he was doing at this point showed a level of maturity that shown just how far he could go. And Barry's signature became his innovative use of coloring. As you can see, there's all different ways that he would color and insert colors and visual storytelling and negative space. What are you loving about this most, Mike?
I think it looks great. I mean, these look like real people, you know, not maybe Alex Ross type of photographic people, but they look like, you know, they're just walking out of a sandstorm or a snowstorm.
Absolutely. And I would note also that like the detail that he would put into climbing a tower and then literally drawing all that glass and then identifying all that color is just stunning work. Is that just amazing?
It is. It's a lot of work. I don't know if I would put that much work in.
Well, you're not Barry Windsor-Smith.
That's true.
The work here, Mike, also amazing. Could have done almost anything, just trotting past a wall, but takes the time to draw and color all of this work. So, you know, when you look at these, were all covers from Conan Saga. With Conan Saga, of course, you can see they would, you know, crop it so that it fit. You get the logo. He has much of this on his own website, but also in the Facebook group that I go to and some fan pages. What do you think of these images?
I think they're good. These are things that I would want to look at.
Now, yeah, you want to read this now, don't you?
Yeah.
All right. We continue on. He does stories for Epic Illustrated. Again, you know, could have just drawn Conan in a tree, but takes the time to do. But look at all the lighting work and the coloring work. What always blew me away was this incidental coloring work that no other artist or not many other artists would bother doing. But look at the colors, the blues, the yellows, the purples, the greens, the reds. You know, when you first look at it, you just absorb it. But then as you start to really dive into it, you realize just how much coloring is going on in this.
And he does a lot of coloring work as well.
He does a lot of coloring work. And then as well, you know, the details here, like look at all the time he took to draw all of those links on Conan's, I don't know, skirt. I don't know. Loincloth. But yeah, I mean, did he have to draw the peacock with all the colors? Did not, but he did. And then of course you can see when they crop it really tightly. And then, you know, there's some coloring changes to it in final publications. Barry Windsor-Smith, able to almost get away with anything, decides he's going to follow in Kirby's footsteps, also do some X-Men work, does some tremendous stories, including the Life Death 1 and Life Death 2 stories. And then we'll talk about Adastra in Africa. Mike, do you remember any of this from your research?
I absolutely. Well, I remember the Life Death stories. Those were great. Rogue and Forge.
That's right.
Yep. And she had lost her powers.
Mm-hmm.
And it was basically just those two alone. And eventually Forge figures out a way to give her powers back. But it was a great story of just those two figuring out how to be just people and how to be together.
Mike, this is a rare occasion where you've read the comic books.
Yes. I was a big X-Men collector. So
you were a big X-Men collector. That's right. Were the dogs in the background big X-Men collectors?
They were very excited about this graphic up here.
Adastra in Africa. Mike, did you find Adastra in Africa in any of your research and what it was all about?
Well, from what I read, it was supposed to be the third part of the Storm saga. And they never went with the X-Men, but he did the Ad Astra, turned it into his own little thing.
Yeah, he wanted to do some work that we won't ruin the story for you, that Marvel considered unacceptable. And he had drawn most of Ad Astra in Africa as Storm. This is Storm with the Mohawk. And there is Storm with the Mohawk. There is Storm with the Mohawk. Storm goes back to Africa, I believe, as a character. That was where she was originally from, and was a goddess.
Yeah.
She goes back to Africa as a goddess. He draws this unbelievable story, and Marvel rejects it. It sits in a drawer for some amount of time, and Fantagraphics says, we'll publish it. It's on my shelf, and I was like, I'll buy that. If you keep in mind that this is Storm and that this is Life, Death 3, it is absolutely mind-blowing and perhaps understandable why Marvel was afraid to publish it.
I'll have to read it. I haven't read it, but it is curious to me why they wouldn't do it.
The story is somewhat controversial and perhaps more than Marvel could handle at the time.
Understandable.
Understandable. Do we have comments coming in? Are they hating us?
Manga Berserk. I don't know what that is.
I don't either. Sounds like an ice cream flavor.
Simply the best.
Tom McCarthy.
Comic books.
Tom McCarthy's a family member, Mike.
I was going to say, he's new.
He is new. Let's give Tom a welcome applause. Tom, thank you. Windsor-Smith, collector, and in Tom's will, he is leaving me his Barry Windsor-Smith collection. He doesn't know that right now, but he is. I wonder what medium he is using to color. That is a good question. I do not know, blank stare. I would imagine paint. I think he worked with paint. I don't know. Gouache, maybe. But it certainly has a painty look. Mike is too busy winning Emmys to read Conan. Sure. No one's too busy to read Conan.
I will have to put that on my list of comics to get now.
That's right. There you go. Woohoo. I think legally that was Tom conferring that I will inherit his Conan collection. All right. He is a family member. Barry Windsor-Smith also famously reimagined the origin of Wolverine in this story, Weapon X, Mike, which then became the foundation for all future Wolverine stories. And even the movie, there are literal scenes that are taken directly from the comic book with the movie starring Hugh Jackman. What do you think? Did you read this when it first came out?
I remember reading it, but I don't really remember like much of the story and what happened. I know that they did it. They had a couple of scenes here and there in the X-Men movies, and they did one Wolverine Origins.
Yep.
Not a good movie. But yeah. Oh, just as a tidbit, he wrote, drew, inked, colored, and even partially lettered all of Weapon X.
I did not know that, Mike. That is actually a great piece of information. So if you think about it, look at how much time and effort he put into the coloring to make sure the coloring differentiates all those cables and wire. Like most artists would have stopped at just a few hundred wires.
Yes. And it's stuff that he didn't have to do. I mean, he just had to make it look like he was entangled in some wires, but he went above and beyond to make it look like he's entangled in millions.
Yeah. So he told this very innovative tale, which was reflected in the film. But of course, I think there was a lot more internal monologue. There was a lot more explanation. They do get into Wolverine going berserk when he finally is released accidentally. This is the trade paperback cover. So as a reader, you'll see this trade paperback cover, but this was the original panel. So if you're looking here, they recolored it. Marvel recolored it to make the army guys green. They took the lettering off. This is a lot more powerful, as you can see. With the yellows were a lot brighter. But Marvel even provided just the black and whites on this, which are just absolutely stunning when you look at the amount of detail that goes into all of those bodies lying around, Mike.
Yeah, you didn't even need to color it, and it looks fantastic.
Yeah, it could have gone completely black and white. I mean, just look at all, he takes the time to draw the stripes on all the sides. Most people would have just been like, you know what, they don't have stripes. But
Just
once
color
he's
it
committed
green,
to
it's
it,
fine.
he commits to it.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think if you look here, you kind of lose some of that. They do a little of it here, but like you lose so much of it in the coloring until you see the pencils raw, which my relative Tom has the black and white copies, which I will inherit. There he goes, woohoo again, which I will inherit from him. There you go. Okay, so here we are with Barry Windsor-Smith. Okay. There we have Hugh Jackman replicating the famous scene where he gets the adamantium. But go ahead. What's the?
Was he known as a punctual artist? This is some high quality art for monthly books.
I believe not.
Yeah.
I believe that punctuality and monthly deadlines were not what he was best known for.
Yeah, not on his list of things that need to be done.
So Andrew Campbell says something. Do you want to read it out as his voice? And then
Wolverine Origins is the best movie. It is not the best movie.
It is not the best movie. Logan is the best movie.
Logan is the best movie.
Logan is the best movie. So I hope that made it down to Australia by now.
It should have. It should have.
Maybe they don't have it yet.
Yeah, well, Hugh Jackman's in it, so they probably make it.
They probably do.
Yeah.
But if you look at what they were doing with Hugh Jackman, you know what? Hugh Jackman did a fantastic job, especially in this entire sequence of getting the adamantium put into his body. You got to give it to Hugh Jackman. The guy sold the entire scene.
Yep.
Right?
He was Wolverine.
Getting into Wolverine's head and watching him grow and the pain that he goes through, it is harrowing. It is disgusting in parts. It is absolutely disturbing. And yeah, I mean, and what this was Weapon X was I believe a weekly or a bi-weekly book that came out in increments. So I believe he did this in 8-page increments, Mike. I'm not
I did not know that.
But I think he did it. And then it was republished in the collected edition, but I believe it was 8-page increments. Mm-hmm. All right, here we go. Now, Barry has kindly provided color guides. And one of the things that's really cool about what he does here is he's really specific about how he wants the colors to work. So I don't know if he saved this or if some smart editor was smart enough to go, you know what? I'm not throwing this out. So those are the color guides. And then I even did a zoom in here where you can actually see his handwritten notes. I will note that I did do an interview with Barry Windsor-Smith in that article. I have somewhere in my archives, I had written it. The agreement that I had with Barry in order to publish it was he had to have last look at it. He marked it up, handwritten, correcting things that he wanted to say. And I also saved that in my archive. So my handwritten notes from Barry Windsor-Smith from the article that I did.
Nice. Is it in red pen? He should have sketched what he wanted on the.
That's right. And if I die before you, Tom McCarthy, I will gift you my Conan. There it goes. Tom's got one saying, woohoo. All right, so we carry on. What we did not know about Barry Windsor-Smith, but we found out later in other stories, is that he was very, very funny. This issue of Marvel Fanfare stands as perhaps the best issue of Marvel Fanfare, where it is literally a one long story of Johnny Storm and Ben Grimm playing practical jokes on each other. In this particular one, Barry shows how Johnny Storm has left Ben Grimm with pancakes. When he touches the pancakes, they explode.
Okay.
and Ben Grimm is none too happy. So once again, taking off on the theme of going back to Jack Kirby, you could usually find this in dollar bins, Mike. It is one of the greatest single issues of the Thing ever written and drawn.
I have never read it. I have never even seen it.
It is wonderful. Read it.
Okay.
Barry during the 90s did a lot of covers for Marvel. I suspect based on that's right, not the old spring in the pastry trick. I bet you do that one at home, pastry, a blank stare. But like, if you look at this, I mean, you know, here's an example of Barry like doing the extra. But then if you look here, this image of the gracefulness of the Black Widow, but then taking the time to draw all those windows and all the colors. What do you think of these, Mike?
I think they're great. The especially the Daredevil one. That looks fantastic. That's enough of a cover that it'd be like, well, I definitely got to open this up and see what's going on.
Mike, ask me if I can do one better.
Could you?
I can do one better by providing you the color guides from those, so you can really see the penciled artwork and the inked artwork, literally marked and labeled. These look like marker comps, Mike. This is what often they would do these with markers. I don't think these were probably drawn by Barry, but I suspect that he was marking out the color guides, and then you had someone who knew the color codes, probably Pantone colors, who then did marker comps for the printer.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like what they did.
So, yeah, these are the kinds of things that you can either find on Barry Windsor-Smith's website, or does anybody remember Tim Conrad? I remember Tim Conway, but I don't remember Tim Conrad. Do you know Tim Conrad?
Never heard of Tim Conrad.
We'll have to ask Tom McCarthy who Tim Conrad was. All right, Mike, so we're going to continue on. I rediscovered Machine Man when I was first breaking into reading comics. I think I read comics when I was a kid, and then I was like, comics are for kids. They're stupid, and I'm too old for these things. And one day I'll tell you the story about how I threw all my comic books out. But then when I was in college, in my senior year, I rediscovered comics. I discovered Machine Man, and I read all the Machine Man issues by Jack Kirby. And then I discovered that Barry Windsor-Smith did a 4-issue miniseries with Machine Man, in which Machine Man, in these 4 covers, the head slowly builds to a final version of Machine Man. So even the cover was high concept. But if you look at the detail on this, I mean, everything about Barry Windsor-Smith is in the detail.
Yeah. That's, again, super, super detailed, which is amazing to me. That if someone gave me this to draw, I'd have a couple of wires sticking out, and that's about it.
But it's definitely, but what I like about this is it's Barry Windsor-Smith, but you can see the Kirby influence. You can see the homage to Kirby here just by the types of lines and the types of tubes. Like, he is giving a nod artistically to Jack Kirby, and yet he's still making it very much Barry Windsor-Smith.
Yep, that's his thing.
But he wasn't just covers, Mike. He was doing the interiors as well. And if you look at the beautiful storytelling on this, he's in there. He's got your close-up inset. Then he's got him writing the cycle inset, and then he pulls out for a full splash page. This, we would say, was a 3-panel page. But the way Barry Windsor-Smith did it, he maximized the inset for the close-up, then the other inset for a slightly wider shot, and then goes full-on splash page. The way he maximizes that page, very few artists can pull off.
And I'm gonna go back to Blank Stare's question about him being punctual. There's no way he could possibly be punctual with all of this stuff that he's doing.
No, it probably was not. I don't know much about it, but I believe that the monthly schedule was not an easy one for somebody who's putting on this much work. you can see the level of work that is going into each of these panels alone. Just incredible retelling of the Machine Man storyline. By the way, Mike, I will tell you, Machine Man is one of my all-time favorite B-list characters, and I do hope to one day get an opportunity to write my Machine Man story.
Very good, very good. And what I would say for you to do for me.
Thank you. And I'm sure that's Marvel editors clapping right now.
What I think you should do, at least for me, is to make me a list of your favorite comics so then I can read them.
Yes, yes. All right.
One day.
Barry Windsor-Smith was a fan of what's called Pre-Raphaelite art. There was this very distinct period in time where the Pre-Raphaelites, I don't know why they were called that, but I'm sure that there was a reason for it. I forget, from art school, where they would put this astonishing level of detail. And that's what he was doing. This, want to read that out?
A contemporary of Barry that did some Conan work for Marvel. That was Tom Conrad. Closest I've seen to Barry. Check him out.
Oh, well, maybe we will.
Maybe we'll get him on the show.
Maybe we will. Anyway, Barry Windsor-Smith was doing stories for Epic Illustrated. When you're a comic book fan, you're reading comics, you reading heavy metal, then Marvel comes out with their own version of heavy metal. And then Barry Windsor-Smith's like, this is what I'm going to do. You let him do whatever he wants to do.
Yep.
But it showed him to be not just a master artist. He was a master storyteller in the way he broke his panels down, right? How he goes from observing something to his eye getting caught, to reaching the hand, to the hand taking it, to being stung by it, curious by it and the expression, and then reaching again. The man was a master storyteller. He was also a wonderful writer. He just had the whole package. As he's doing this, he is now producing more and more work. And this is at a certain point where he begins to hit this unbelievable output that is second to none.
That's true. He has done quite a bit of work.
All right. He then publishes these two books, which are also on my shelf, Opus and Opus 2. Do you remember reading up on these, Mike?
Yes, they are his retrospective art books. So basically all the stuff that he's done, thrown in there. This is all the stuff he did in the past. And he's like, this is what I want people to see and know about me.
I would also note that he puts quite a lot of prose in here, and shares his thoughts, his philosophies. So it's not just your average art book. It is quite literally like, all of his thinking to that point. They're quite amazing, hard to find, but worth seeking out. Mm-hmm. He was also doing, he was working in something that was called The Studio with other famous artists. Do you remember reading anything about?
I do. That was they formed The Studio in 1975 with artists Jeff Jones, Michael Kaluta, and Bernie Wrightson.
Wow. Heavy hitters, right, Mike?
Yep. And because they wanted to pursue creative projects outside of comics commercialism.
And the work of prints like this, you can't even touch them. You can only find them on eBay. They're very expensive. Were unbelievable. And, they were putting out fine art. They were putting out books. They were putting out prints. And they were doing things that you just could not do in mainstream press. And they owned their own work. They maintained all of their own copyrights. And, when you look at this kind of stuff, yeah, you can't do this on a monthly deadline.
Yeah, definitely not.
And he didn't even need to have like a storyline. There's a story in one picture.
Yep. All
right. Once again, let's start with the left. This is a cover called Icarus. Unbelievable piece of work. Just, you're looking at this and you're like, he did so much more than he needed to. This was, I believe, a cover to Epic Illustrated. But then he outdoes himself with this piece, which I believe is called Ophelia. Have you ever seen anything like this?
It's still shocking how much detail he puts into everything.
Right. And he did this on a monthly schedule. Kidding.
Yes. He only did this in a week. It took him a week to draw that.
Right. But, therein lies, the challenge. There are artists out there who would do comic books if they got, if there was enough time and there was enough money to do this kind of work. We could be reading comic books like this. In Europe, you can earn a very good living on making comic books. In the United States, not as much, but the way the publishing industry is going, it's a lot harder than it used to be. But this is the kind of work that was available. Fortunately, he continued to do this work.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right. Barry Windsor-Smith, Bob Layton, Jim Shooter, and others architected the original Valiant universe. Remember Valiant, Mike?
I do. Yes, it was number 3 behind Marvel and DC, and it exploded onto the scene.
It exploded onto the scene, and I didn't show this in the last episode of covers, but I believe that this cover of Solar, Man of the Atom, is a masterwork. Solar is considering his existence. That is his own costume. And the fact of the way he places it, the eye travels from the left to the right, down and out to the signature. He can do the action, he can do the cosmic, and then he can make a cover like Solar equally as exciting.
Yep. And you love Archer and Armstrong.
I love Archer and Armstrong. Actually got to write the Valiant issue. Only got to use Archer. But when I wrote my Valiant issue, was thrilled to have been able to contribute some way. Hopefully I made Barry proud with the way I wrote Archer.
Too bad you didn't get him to draw it for you.
Too bad. A lot of too bads. After Valiant, he went on to Darkhorse. This is back when I first met him. And he was putting out essentially full-size original art, which would be, those treasury editions, Mike?
The big ones, yeah.
The big ones, 11 by 17. And he was putting these out, and there would be approximately 3 stories. You see Young Gods, Freebooters, and Paradox Man. That was the lead story. And then you'd have Freebooters, Paradox Man, and Young Gods. And essentially, he would just tell 3 8-page stories for a 24-page book. It didn't last very long because, number one, it was very expensive. Number 2, it was hard for retailers to shelve a treasury size edition.
Yeah.
Right? Their comics, the thing is for the smaller size. But the stories here were just absolutely beautiful, well written, exciting. This is Paradox Man, Mike. He time travels.
I like that. I'll have to check that one out.
Time travels. Then you got this one. They were fun and they were weird. This was like, gods living amongst us. I will note that this was my favorite character. This was basically like Archer and Armstrong. If this was Armstrong during the earliest days, because he was an Eternal. So he didn't call it Armstrong, but it sure does look like Armstrong. But like, look at the work that's going into this.
Yeah.
That's incredible. And then I had to do this one as well. I mean, the guy at this point, people are going to buy it no matter what.
Yeah.
But
he's still putting all that effort in.
Right. He didn't slack. He, like your baseball coach told you, run through the base, Mike. Run all the way through first base.
That's right.
That's right. Okay. He was often brought in to do covers. I did the Miracle Man cover, which I don't know if it ever saw publication. It may or may not have. Someone was kind enough to post this. Once again, his use of graphic design and color and detail made it all pop. Did you ever see this cover before?
I have not seen that cover, no.
Isn't that a great cover?
Yeah.
All right. We're getting toward the end, toward modern day, Mike. Barry Windsor-Smith famously had an incredible Hulk story
Yes.
That was at the time not accepted by Marvel. Did you do research on this? Did you want?
I did on this one. Yes, it was a story that you just said wasn't accepted. So he turned it into a 360-page hardcover.
That'll show him.
Yeah, like, hey, you don't want my story? Now you get to read a brand new story by me called Monsters.
Except he owns it and Marvel didn't. Now the story as it goes, at least according to Barry, was he had proposed this story. Marvel didn't accept it. It got put in a drawer and then was done later by writer Doug Mensch, I believe. I might be getting that wrong. I'm not 100% sure. And written as a Hulk story, taking away his ability to do it as a Hulk story. So his pitch sat in a drawer. But he ended up making the Hulk a grotesque monster. How many pages was this, Mike?
360.
So came out, what, 2 years ago, 3 years ago? During the pandemic?
I don't know. I didn't do that much research.
You do that much research. But if you want to see what Barry Windsor-Smith draws like now, of course, his work has matured. He's changed a little bit. He still puts in the detail, but it was different. This is a full black and white. But the Hulk is a horror story as it was intended. So definitely an amazing artist with an amazing career. Let's clap for ourselves. I hope people enjoyed. Yeah, 360 pages. That's right. Mike, what do you think?
I think now I want to go and read a bunch of Barry Windsor-Smith stuff.
Now, Mike, and ask the audience. Let's ask the audience. Did you enjoy this overview and artist spotlight? And should we do more things like this in the future? I hope they did. I hope they're just typing as fast as they can. Again. Oh, that's right. He did some nice work for Malibu he'd done tons of work. I have to check it out. Good. I hope people are inspired to check out Barry Windsor-Smith. And people who are watching the show, please, when you're leaving a like or a comment, that helps us out a lot. It helps people discover the show. Thank you, Blank Stare. We appreciate your appearance. Thank you, Tom, for joining us. We really appreciate you guys for joining us, and we're super excited.
Hey, you got the volume right this time.
Oh wait, we got a new.
Yes, we got a new one. David Alicia. David.
Welcome, David. All right, Mike. We're going to tell people again. Give us the like, the comment, share it with people. We love seeing you every Tuesday. We will see you again next Tuesday with another show. Please leave in the comments artists that you would like for us to profile. Put it in the comments after the video is over, because then everybody can see it. We love seeing all of you, and we will see you again next Tuesday. Thanks, everybody. Good night.